Final Cut Pro is finally coming to the iPad, and I couldn't be more excited. So today we are going to take a look at all of the things that Apple has told us about what is coming to the iPad, and I'm going to give some thoughts and opinions at the end of where I think maybe Final Cut Pro could be going in the future. Here I am on apple.com, Final Cut Pro for iPad. So it says bring your entire studio to your shoot. And man, look at that interface. Let's see if there's anything special going on here. It looks really simple. I actually really like the layout. I thought they were going to stick a little closer to the original Final Cut layout. And it's interesting to me that the browser's on the right side. And it would be interesting to see if maybe when there's an update for hopefully the Mac version of iPad, maybe that browser you can change the side that it goes on. So that would be interesting to see. I see a little markup icon here at the top. There's a camera icon, so I'm assuming that means you can actually record video directly from Final Cut Pro, which is a really nice feature, especially since you're on iPad, because everybody records on their iPad. Maybe there's a reason to now, so that'll be cool. I see some, I'm guessing that's generators up here at the top right. And that would be interesting to see if maybe there is new generators coming, because I know that video kind of showed that maybe there would be some new titles and stuff. Record, edit, finish, and deliver all on iPad. Create vlogs, social content, music video, shorts, and more. A complete pro video studio at your fingertips. And there's another video here. Now, something that's interesting here is get 1 month free, then pay $4.99 a month or $49 annually. So it looks like this is going to the subscription-based setup. I'm hoping that doesn't come to the Mac version, but it could just be a matter of time before Apple does that. So that'll be interesting to see. It's coming 5/23, so really soon. And of course, the second I get my hands on this, I'm going to be uploading tons and tons of videos, hoping for, just a whole basic overlook so you can decide if it's for you. And of course, that 1 month free is really nice. I would be curious to see if they add that to the Apple One setup, that subscription service. And that would be interesting because then you can have your cloud storage and everything all tacked together. But to me, $5 a month is a great deal if this really has the power of Final Cut Pro behind it. I'm not a huge fan of subscriptions. That's why I'm not with Adobe, and I'm sure this is going to send a lot of people over to DaVinci Resolve. But to me personally, who uses Final Cut Pro regularly, this is how I make my living. $5 is nothing. $50 for a whole year, that's dirt cheap compared to the level of income you can get from using Final Cut Pro. So leave your thoughts in the comments. So let's keep it nice down there. I know that there's going to be a lot of back and forth and people can get upset in the comments. So let's just keep it really friendly. But my personal opinion is, even though I'm not a big fan of subscriptions, I think that's a great deal for the cost that they're charging. An all-new creative interface for creators. Edit video projects with immediacy and speed using your finger or Apple Pencil, which I think is super cool, on a touch-first interface, completely reimagined for iPad. And they got some photos here, so editing surface, and I don't want to play video here with the audio. This looks really nice. It looks so fluid. I'm really excited. That thing here on the side, that kind of radial wheel, I'm very curious to see what that is. I'm wondering if that's how you get fine-tune control to move forward or backward a single frame or something. So that'll be interesting to see. Live drawing, which is super cool. This is going to really open up the door to a lot of effects. Let's go ahead and play through. Yeah, so you can draw directly on your videos, which honestly, that just turned Final Cut Pro into like an entire animation suite. So that'll be really cool to see if maybe some animators come out of using Final Cut on iPad. HDR, which is great. HDR eventually is going to be the future. It's taking a long time to get adopted. I personally don't work in HDR workflows, but I'm really glad to see that they're forward thinking because the iPad display is just so great. I think HDR is going to go hand in hand with this. So that's awesome. iMovie import. Oh, that's cool. So if people need to import their projects from iMovie, it looks like they can do just that. Apple Pencil and keyboard. Awesome. It's going to be working directly with those. Find your best angles with multi-camera editing. This is going to be Huge. Final Cut Pro, one of the biggest strengths Final Cut Pro has is the multicam editor. In my opinion, it is the best multicam editing experience out of all of the other editors. I have tried them in Resolve, I have tried them in Premiere, and they're great over there, but Final Cut Pro just absolutely takes the cake. So seeing this directly on the iPad is going to be huge. Now, I don't know how it compares with like Luma Fusion or something like that. Maybe the multicam's better over there. I haven't tried it personally, but that would be an interesting video to see a back and forth between some of the other editing apps. Sync clips captured from up to 4 camera or audio sources in one easy step. Okay, so there's a limit of 4. If you want more, you're probably gonna wanna jump over to the computer. Switch to your best angles and audio across all your recordings from one easy view in the timeline just by tapping between them. That is going to be awesome. It's just going to be so easy to switch between. One of my favorite things with multicam editing on the computer is I just push 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I can cut between all the different angles using a numpad. So that is going to be awesome. The angle editor, oh, this looks interesting. Open multicam clips in the angle editor to adjust the sync and angle order, add or delete angles, and monitor audio. So this is going to be very similar to the angle editor directly in Final Cut Pro, but I'm really glad to see that they're going to give you that kind of fine-tune control. Speed through workflows with fast cut automation. Accelerate time-consuming editing tasks by using fast cut features that leverage the power of Apple Silicon and machine learning. This sounds exciting because I could very easily see this working with auto ducking in your audio to auto cut an entire video sequence. So if there's ums or silences, maybe it's going to cut those. I don't know what that means, but I feel like this is going to really open the doors. I think if Apple really leans into this machine learning side of Final Cut Pro, it is going to do wonders. So I'm so excited to see what this does. I do know, I saw this, scene removal mask. So this is going to allow us to actually cut out the background, very similar to what Keeper has been doing for a while. Where it just auto removes the background. And so having that fully integrated into Final Cut Pro is going to be amazing. Patrick, I'm sorry, man. Your plugin has saved my bacon so many times. I feel like this is going to hurt your sales a lot, but amazing plugin. Very, very grateful for it. I will try and do a comparison between the two. Instantly isolate a subject and remove it from its background with just a tap without using a green screen or rotoscoping. So this is going to be huge. This is how I add in that text behind me. This is how I color grade the background differently than what I'm adding the color grade to myself. So again, Keeper has been essential for me in my editing workflow, and I'm so excited to see it here on the iPad. So yeah, they're removing the background. Now it's not really fair because this shot is just a white background. It would have been more interesting if it was a more complex backdrop, because you could just key that out with a Luma keyer. But exciting to see, and hopefully they just keep iterating on it. Auto crop. So this is intelligently adjust footage for vertical, square, and other aspect ratios so you can deliver your videos to multiple destinations with ease. This is a cool feature. This is already kind of in Final Cut Pro, but it looks like maybe they're changing the name of it. So auto crop, I'll be curious if it adds additional features because vertical content is just such a major part of our lives now. So it's cool to see that they are working towards that vertical workflow. Final Cut Pro right now still has issues with vertical content. So I'm really hoping that that means maybe they're paying more attention to it and they can iron out some of the issues. Voice isolation in Final Cut Pro is amazing, and I'm so glad to see that it's coming here to the iPad. Spectacular titles, transitions, and effects all included. So polish your projects with a comprehensive collection of sophisticated built-in titles, transitions, and effects. So this looks really cool. I don't recognize these lower thirds or bumpers. Maybe they're already in Final Cut Pro, but I don't recognize a lot of these. So I'm really hoping that means they're bringing over a bunch of new ones. But even more importantly, I'm really hoping this means that I can, bring in the plugins that I've created for Final Cut Pro. So if I'm able to, I'm going to get my plugins updated as quickly as possible. If I can hit by day one, I will. But we'll see how that goes. And so seeing the titles, it says dynamic titles, customized theme titles, lower thirds, and bumpers to enhance your project Again, these look new to me unless they're working with third-party applications. Effects. Oh, it looks like we got some new effects in here. So that'll be interesting. These are more kind of Instagram filter-esque looks. So that'll be cool to see if they could use machine learning with the effects to really enhance the scene. It can look and say, okay, this is where a human is. We're going to apply the effect differently to this human than we will to the backdrop. That could be really cool. We'll see how that goes. Music. Add a professional soundtrack that intelligently adjusts to the length of your video. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. This is a feature that Premiere has had for a long time, and I'm so excited to see it in Final Cut because this is going to make my life so much easier when I need to extend or trim down a song, and I would assume this is coming over to the Mac version as well. So that's going to be super exciting. Backgrounds. Enhance your video with a selection of vibrant, dynamic backgrounds and animated patterns. And third-party content, it says coming soon. So maybe this won't come on release day of May 23rd. But oh man, I did not know about this music feature. That is very, very exciting. That is going to save people a lot of time. Get the perfect shot. Apply your creative vision as you shoot using Pro Camera Mode and take full advantage of ProRes capture on the latest iPad Pro. This is going to be cool. I'm curious how this will compare to something like Filmic Pro, which also just went to a subscription-based service. Maybe Filmic Pro is really cool. It has a lot of amazing features, and I don't see a lot of those features here. So that'll be interesting to see if Apple's just keeping it really toned down, very simplistic. Or I do see a settings gear here. So maybe that means you can get in and dial in your white balance and everything you need to do. So that'll be cool. It would also be cool to see cinematic mode directly in Final Cut, but we'll see what that does. Manual controls. Oh, okay, here's more on the recording. So compose your shot with control over white balance. Yep. Exposure and focus and portrait or landscape orientation. I do see they have a bunch of presets here. So daylight, shadow, cloudy, tungsten, fluorescent, and flash. I would love, okay, fixed white balance. So that looks like you can dial it exactly to the Kelvin range you need. So that's really cool. And that's going to open up the doors to a lot of people. See available recording times and audio levels, including for external microphones, so that's huge. Turn on overexposure indicators and grid lines to ensure your video looks perfect in the moment. So that's going to be great, having zebras, everything designed directly in Final Cut Pro. So that's really cool that they're diving deep into making Final Cut Pro its own camera app with all the features you could possibly need, and shooting in ProRes is going to be huge as well, which is this next feature. ProRes, capture in the highest quality formats, including ProRes on the latest iPad Pro to get amazing real-time performance for tasks like multi-stream editing. Cool, so you have all the settings to dial in here, what level of quality you want, and it looks like, can we do 4K 60 with Apple ProRes? That is pretty insane if that's possible. That'll be something to play around with and see what you can do. Save your footage directly into your project so you can review your shots quickly, eliminating an extra import step. That's huge. I would also love to see if I can just take my camera and plug it in directly via USB-C and record. That would be really cool as well. So all stuff I'm going to need to play around with. Advanced features for pro workflows. ProRes RAW. Import and edit the most popular video formats, including ProRes RAW, so you can work with untouched image data straight from the camera sensor. That's huge. RAW is, again, the future. Hopefully, as storage gets cheaper and cheaper, more people can be working with RAW. Mostly just so that you have longevity with the footage. So maybe you don't know how to work with RAW now, but you can remaster the stuff you shoot now way later when you have that raw data. So that to me is the biggest upside of RAW. The files are huge. I'll be curious to see as technology improves if they can get a RAW workflow where it's a much smaller file size, but we'll see. Color grade with confidence using video scopes. That's great. Apply camera lookup tables for the perfect look. So The iPad display is amazing. I love using it. It's actually got a dedicated color setting. I forget what it's called, but it really makes it so your colors are accurate. And this is going to be huge, having that color workflow directly on the iPad. And honestly, I might just use the iPad for color grading in some instances. So this is going to be great. Keyframe, animate video and audio using keyframes to control adjustments to your clips over time. I see keyframe. I'm hoping so much that maybe they will add in more features with keyframes. Give us some nice easing with the scale in Final Cut Pro. Just some basic Bezier curves would be huge. I know we have it a little bit with position, but give it to us in the scale. Give us the Apple Motion keyframe experience directly in Final Cut Pro. That's all I'm hoping for, please. Cinematic mode does come. Let's see, edit video shot in cinematic mode on iPhone. Choose focus points in a shot and change them over time with just a tap. That's gonna be great. Happy to see it. Looks like you can change your depth of field and everything. Share. No way, they let you export your videos. That's crazy. Now, let's see. Deliver the highest quality files or render videos optimized for social platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok in HDR and SDR. It'd be really interesting to see if you can log into the different accounts and just post directly from Final Cut. That would cut out a step. You could do that originally with Final Cut Pro. I don't know if they removed that feature. But it would be interesting to see if you could do that from the iPad. That would make way more sense than even the computer side having that direct upload. So that'll be cool to see. It would be awesome to see if you could upload a thumbnail and stuff directly from here. Send to Mac. Export a project to Final Cut Pro for Mac to access features like advanced color grading, object tracking, and more. Oh, interesting. So maybe they don't have the object tracker on the iPad version. And that's a big... They need to get object tracking over to the iPad because that's huge on social media, having the text track to your face, especially if you're able to cut out somebody, cut out the background and you want to track that text in behind them. That's going to be important. So here's to hoping that the object tracker comes over. Questions and answers. How much does Final Cut Pro for iPad cost? As we saw, that is going to be $5 a month or $49 for a year. It would be really cool to see a one-time purchase version too. Even if it's, $200 or something. It'd be nice if it was just included, if you already had Final Cut Pro, but obviously Apple needs to make money. One other thing with the subscriptions that I think is a benefit is that means that because it's continually making that revenue, Apple might be able to look at it closer and say, okay, this is making us some money. Let's go ahead and continue to put more resources into this. Let's get more updates out. That is a hope that I have. Only the future can tell if that is what is going to happen. But again, $5 a month, it hurts. It's a subscription. I get it. You can complain in the comments if you want. Just keep it nice, as I said. But $5 a month is very affordable, I personally believe, especially if this is somehow how you make your income. It does suck for those who don't make an income from Final Cut Pro and it's just a hobby. But you're just going to have to decide at what level you are for Final Cut Pro and if it's worth it to you. I think this will also open up the doors for people who don't have Final Cut Pro on the Mac but want that editing experience. So we'll see how this goes. Which iPad do I need to use Final Cut Pro for the iPad? You can install Final Cut Pro for iPad on your 12.9-inch iPad Pro 5th or 6th generation. Okay. 11-inch iPad Pro 3rd or 4th generation, or iPad Air 5th generation with iPad OS 16.4. So that looks like, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not a tech YouTuber. That would be the M1 and M2 iPads for the iPad Pro. So that about wraps up the overview of iPad for Final Cut Pro. Until we get more information, until I get my hands on it, this is about all I can provide you with. But if this video was interesting to you, and if you're excited to see more iPad content here on the channel, remember to hit that like button and consider subscribing, as I have a channel fully dedicated to Final Cut Pro. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out on the channel, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one.